diskokan sa girisan sa du sa anananga imangatsu akong sudedera bonitong tulay mestran man mafatusyan todo sa dandan inilang sungguh pulau bola siya menggakui menggan karabo pambuni tunatongku sanampus manepa san hazadandan inilang sungguh pulau ay 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 ay
Hafade todo samzu gwena hudzung. Buenas. Estigo an episode Fanatsu. This is another episode of Fanatsu. And Guahu we host Midzu Tatlu Paresti si Michael Han Bavakwa. And Esta Makpu Mes Chamorro Guinigidza Guahan. It is the end already of Mes Chamorro here on Guam. But that doesn't mean that we stop speaking the Chamorro language. It doesn't mean we stop practicing the culture. It doesn't mean we stop telling Chamorro stories and celebrating the Chamorro people, ahi. And so, Debrita continuadzo, or as I've heard people say, kada diha mes Chamorro, kada saken mes Chamorro. And in other words, I think that we should copy the Marvel universe and just colonize all of time, the multiverse, make the multiverse Chamorro. Hungen, wenti sinyata now. But I'm very excited because one thing, if you've heard me over the years talk about these sorts of issues, I always say, "Angentihita pues hadzi." If it's not us, then who is going to do it? Or should we wait for Rosetta Stone to save our language for us? Should we wait for the Smithsonian to save our culture for us? Or should we do something ourselves? And so the people that are here today for this Fanatsu episode are some who embody that if we want to save the language, then we have to use the language. We have to pass it on. We have to help others learn it, especially the youth. And that if we want more Chamorro language in the world, then maybe we have to create the spaces for it, where people can use it, people can learn it, and people can share it. And so I have with me today a number of people, including Benny Anderson Jr. and Jay Castro, who are the creators, the movers and the shakers for the website Sakman.com. And so there's also some of the contributors joining us today who have written pieces, shared pieces on Sakman.com. But first I want to hand it off to Benny and Jay to introduce this website to us.
Jesus Masi, Senor. Guahu si Benny Anderson. Tauta Nelahan and Tauta Malesu Lo Sumasagadu Giza San Francisco. So my name is Benny Anderson. I'm originally from the villages of Inarahan and Mariso, currently living in San Francisco. Jesus Masi, Senor, for inviting us to share our project here with the Fanatsu audience. And we wanted to share our project, Sakman Fanota, with everyone to let us know what we're doing, what it's all about, what the mission is. And today with us is Jay Castro and a few of the contributors who will be sharing their stories and actually reading some of their work later on. So I'll hand it off to you, Jay, to do some intros.
Sijus Mase Benny. Hafade, Guahusi Jay Castro, familian Jeji Zu. Nacio y vivo in San Francisco Bay Area. Oh, look at me. I'm already like going to like Spanish as I don't know the rest of the words. Yeah, I live in Alameda, California in the Bay Area. I got to meet Benny recently through the COVID pandemic. We connected online through one of Señor's Fanatsu podcasts. It's just like this. And I am stepping into a very uncomfortable place where I was not raised with this language. I was not raised around the language. Didn't know anything from the language besides how it related to food Yet here I am, part of a core team who is developing a website to help sustain the language, to help the language thrive, and to allow people like who you're going to meet today to share their stories in a language that so many people might say may not be here in years to come. So I feel very lucky, feel very privileged. And I'm also very nervous that this is going to continue to put me into uncomfortable places. But I think that's where a lot of this comes from, is that it's a challenge. And I, for one, know that our culture and the people from our culture like to step up to challenges. We've been doing it for generations and centuries. And so this is our way of continuing doing it. And a little bit of background on how some of it started. I'll let Benny tell the full story. But Benny, myself, Miss Joanna Duenas, and my brother, Jeremy Castro, actually started an organization called Finideni. We spell Finideni with two N's, so Fina Glonia, Denne Glonia. And it is essentially, our mission is to find ways to create services and products and ways to empower the people from the culture. And just like the popular table sauce, we really just add a mix of simple ingredients to empower and preserve all the different projects and opportunities that exist out there. We have homegrown projects and we support projects that exist. And so an example of a homegrown project is like this, Sakman, where Benny was eager and very empowered to help the language thrive and continue to find ways to empower it. And so the site was created. Examples of how we support other projects is a gentleman by Manny Crisosimo, who also here in the Bay Area with me, recently launched a visual documentary called Manataus and Lagu, where he's trying to capture a portrait of every Chamorro living in the diaspora and create a visual documentary to show our diverse collection, our diverse looks, our diverse backgrounds. And he has a feature every week in the Pacific Daily News as well to check out Thursday, Guam time, Wednesday around stateside. And so we support projects like that because we feel as if that there is a strong mission. It's very oriented with what we're trying to accomplish. And so we find ways to be a strong partner to someone like Manny and his project, and are very happy to have something homegrown that we think can deliver a lot of value to a lot of people, especially someone like myself who has a lot to learn in the language and humbles himself every time I read it. So Benny, I'll send it back to you.
Jay. Some of the origins of Sakman y Finota kind of came out of my experiences with Senor Miguet's Chamorro's language Zoom classes starting around 2020. My nephew sent out invitation in one of the family chats, and my wife and I and my two daughters, we kind of tried them out, and I was really excited about them. And as I was progressing through the classes, I was hungry for more. And so over the last 2 years, 2.5 years, I've been buying books, looking at websites, trying to just accelerate my learning. And I kind of hit a wall in terms of the amount of content out there and the content I was looking for. And so I started coming up with ideas along, with Jay and the projects and some of the kind of the assignments or the areas I was responsible for in Finideni. And I started to look into what resources I felt like I would need or I wanted to learn from. And there are a couple out there, and I felt like there was a need, and of course starting with me. And then I was hoping I'm sure there will be others as we all progress through our learning and our different types of learning. How can we create a resource to help push everybody and in our language learning experience? And so I started with this. I started talking with family and friends, and of course Senor, and we kind of landed on this. I have a lot of ideas, and I hope through the community we can keep building on this and expanding it and maybe even creating things like a platform so that others can build other projects. And so
I'll
go ahead, Jay.
one more thing to add, Benny, and something else that we're finding that is very interesting is you'll meet some of the contributors today who are writing stories and posting them on this site in the Chamorro language. And what we're finding is that there's a lot of people out there who have stories to contribute. A lot of people out there who have written stories in the past who may have them hidden in in their dresser drawers, or in their own book or novel, or maybe still in their head that they haven't yet had a platform in order to share it. And so we really see this as an empowerment opportunity for everyone out there who wants to practice the language, who wants to read the language, who wants to write the language, who may see themselves one day as being someone who can teach the language someday. Like, this is a way in which someone can reach an audience who's interested as they are. And what we also appreciate about it is we want to take an approach, a very inclusive approach into how we treat it as well, where we understand that there's a lot of historical context around the language that presents many challenges for a lot of people, whether it's the way we spell things, or the way people say things, or the criticism that elders might give you, which I still get today. And so I think one thing that we want to do is we want to create this inclusive environment where all types are welcome, where all ways of spelling are welcome, because everyone was raised in their own unique way by the Manumko who taught them this, or by the books that they read it in, or the person at the cafe who they overheard, whatever it might be. And so we get the sense that with an inclusive environment and inclusive inclusive kind of principles at the core, we can have a community, or a place for a community to come, and everyone can feel like they have a voice, or find a voice that they can hear themselves in, or see some of themselves in. And that was very important to us in the very beginning. And so we hope that some of the stories you hear today can help represent that.
Yeah, Benny and Jay. Now let's actually take a look at the website real fast, and then you can keep sharing some of your thoughts. So, Estiging, you should be able to see it there. Sakman y Fino. Ay, na bonitong website, Esti. Wow.
So the kind of the process or the beginning started with how would we create, what would the site include, and where would we get the content, and how would we encourage the community to join us, to share their stories. And so we started off by kind of brainstorming. We looked and asked more like asked family and friends to kind of build a team of volunteers that would help us build this vision. And we started to kind of plan out where would we get the stories, or it could even just include audio or video, and what type of content we would have. And we kind of landed on anything, like any type of subject or content. And we started to reach out to classmates in the Zoom class, family and friends. We started to learn that we have poets in the family. We learned that some of our aunts and uncles weren't probably willing to kind of write things or be on video, but they were willing to share jokes on audio. And so we just kept trying to look and accept as many ideas and as many types of content that we could. And then from there, we started to create a process, figure out the website, and how would people give us that content, and so that we can publish it and then share it with everyone, and kind of hopefully get the process going and inviting more, and hopefully the network grows and grows and the community starts to share, and then this project will start to have a life of its own. And so, we would look for, we don't have any money, we don't have a budget. All we have are volunteers. And so we're looking at out there in the web, there are services that are, a lot of it's free. And so including the design. And then we started to kind of figure out a way to, if the writers were willing to and had experience with some of the tools that we picked, we'll create accounts for them so that they could start to add stories themselves in their own time. And then we created a process where contributors could automatically send us their stories, and then we can build up pages for them and publish them. And that's kind of what we have here and what we're looking at.
Love this. And so while you're talking, I'm just showing some of the articles here. And so, Jay, did you want to add anything before we get into some more specifics, and then we can invite
Yeah,
also some of our guests. So, Jay, go ahead.
cool. I think like Benny's mentioned a lot of key things, and one of them I think like just to I'm a product designer in my normal job, and Benny helps build products in his normal job, and so we really took an approach of to like at the end of the day, right now, what you're looking at, it's just it's a content site where Chamorro language is at the core of it. And we wanted to really do it to inspire more online content in Chamorro. And so we had a soft launch on March 1st, which is kind of what you're looking at here. It's just a content site with some really cool stuff on it. But we imagine, and specifically based on the very positive feedback and motivating feedback we receive from a lot of people, like our vision for the project is still yet to be determined, but we have a few ideas. And one of them is there could be an opportunity for like Chamorro translation as a service. I know you mentioned, Miguel, like we're not waiting for Rosetta Stone to do this, but could we be the Rosetta Stone? And meaning not we, the site, but we, the people. Could we, the people, influence Google Translate and how they determine how they translate Chamorro language? Because at some point they eventually will. We don't know when. I have understandings of how. So how can we, as a people, or facilitate and influence that and be a part of it? So it's a co-creation of a language translation service. And also one idea that I have always aspired towards, where I see this project can eventually take us to, is I've been referring to it as like a 24/7 Chamorro channel, where anyone in the world at any time of the day can access the Chamorro language, whether that's to read it, to listen to it, or to conversate in it. And I was always inspired from the Rosary. And when during COVID, there's just been so many people that we've lost in our life. I've lost a few family members, and during that time, we always had to rely on a few people to lead the Rosary for us. And we all yearned for it to be in Chamorro, and we never had the resource. And it wasn't until I met Benny when I was thankfully invited to his family's weekly Rosary. It was in Chamorro, and it was something that was so new to me, and yet so I can't think of the word right now. So new yet fascinatingly old, and like it brought up these really mixed feelings of something that I had experienced before as a child, and I yearned for more of it. And so I can imagine there are more people like me out there. There are people who want to just learn, who want to listen, and people who also want to pray. And so a rosary 24/7 is one example, right? But there's so many other opportunities where you can have the language in front of you at all times of the day, no matter where you are. And so that's where we eventually see opportunities for this thing to continue to evangelize the language and the use of it.
Sidus Masi. Benny, anything else to add?
I mean, other ideas we started to think of is, as we build the core team of volunteers, we were inviting family and friends who wanted to help, and some were bringing up concerns that they may not have the technical skills or the project management skills to help us, and we would let them know that we were willing to help, and we were willing to give them the opportunity to learn some new skills. So how can we go beyond just sharing our stories in the language and learning the language, but more of even lifting up others in our groups, that we could give them valuable skills that they can use either in their projects or even to get a job. So, again, we're really early in the project, but there are other opportunities we can get from this, and the community can get from it, even just by starting a website.
Again, no, Sidus Masi. This is no, I love this. I love this website so much, simply because it's an important reminder that really what we need for the language, it would be really great if we had super fancy stuff like from the Matrix or Star Trek or Star Wars or something, right? It'd be great if we had a device where you just hold it up to your ear and then you can understand the Rosary and Chamorro, even if you can't speak. Universal Rosary Lesalzu translator, right? Sure, that'd be really nice. But we don't need stuff like that. What we need to do is we need to just put the language out there and create the spaces where people can use it who know it, and people can learn it who don't know it. And so something like this is a great way to do that. And looking at the looking at sort of even just a list of the people who have contributed to this website, it's a wonderful diversity. It's a wonderful diversity. And so I do want to, so I'm going to be a Benidosu na Tatagwini. And so one of the things that I am especially happy about with this website, though, is that it provides an outlet for my children, you know, who can speak Chamorro, that they can write things for it every week. And they may not want to do it, right? Because, you know, but basically at this point, we've made it so that it's part of their chores every week. It's part of their responsibility to the family, is that every week, each of them needs to write something in Chamorro that can go on this website, and then they post it themselves. And so and they're not required to write about anything in particular, but they have to write in Chamorro about something. And so for Sumahi, who is 14, going on leave me alone, I have my own identity and my own life. Sa esta kaleng sutera si Sumahi magait sutera. Sumahi is 14 years old, and Sumahi wants to write about music. So the music that she listens to, she writes about it. And some of these groups I've never heard of before. Car Seat Headrest or Mitski, although I was super proud when she wrote about Radiohead last week, because I do know who Radiohead is. And so it's interesting to see then what a 14-year-old in Chamorro writes about sort of these American or English pop songs, right? And so, but for me, that's what I love about this. Benny and Jay, I'm glad that you pushed ahead with this, because I have 2 kids who can speak Chamorro, but they don't have any kids their age that they can speak to. So they basically speak to me, you know, and they speak to a few other people, you know, they'll, if I, in Chamorro, but they don't have much of a community in the language. But this gave me something where I could channel their energies into. And so that's what I really appreciated. Akli'i, my boy, loves video games, so he writes about video games. So if you know the game Elden Ring, which is like one of the most popular games in the world right now, Akli'i has been playing it, and so he had to write about it last week, about some of his frustrations in playing that game, because it's a pretty difficult game. But so this is an important reminder. And what I love about having youth on this is that usually when we think about Chamorro, we're thinking about Manamku or Man Laamku. We're thinking about older people. And so, and what that does though, and I include myself in that because according to my children, I grew up, what's it called? I grew up before you could search the internet on your phone. And in fact, when I was born, there was no internet yet for at least the public. So according to them, I am a war survivor because it's the time before internet existed. So that life must have been a terrible war back then when people didn't have phones to go on or Netflix to keep them busy. What did they do with their lives? But so that's why we need to change that conversation so that the language is more open to young people in their lives, as opposed to, because if you think that, because some people think that, oh, the language, you know, it's got to be connected to the culture, but if it's connected to the culture of before the war, then it doesn't resonate with a lot of people nowadays. And so Benny, are there any pieces on the site that you wanted to talk about or share?
We invited a couple of guests where they could highlight their stories and invite them to kind of read out their pieces. So those were kind of the highlights we were gonna do. But when one of the ideas in the beginning was to reach out to the UOG Chamorro classes or maybe even the DOE Chamorro classes, and I was just envisioning that there are a lot of students who work really hard in their Chamorro language learning and probably were assigned essays to write. And in the beginning, I was thinking, wow, that could be a great resource to kind of allow them to show their work. And hopefully there could be a time where we could do that. So it's great to see because we could get other, like you were bringing up, other stories or pieces or perspectives that are not necessarily Antigu, right? They're kind of modern, and we should encourage them to use Chamorro every day in whatever they're doing, whether it's Netflix shows or music or going to work or whatever it is, or to school and talking with friends. And how can we encourage the community and all of us to use Chamorro like we do with English? We can be proud of it, and we can have a place to it. We can show it off, and hopefully others start to have other ideas and start to build a Radiohead only blog in Chamorro. And so when you get to that point, then we'll be really excited and proud.
Good. You're so right. That's why I always tell people, connect your Chamorro to whatever is around you and whatever you love, because if you're learning Chamorro, and so I always say, if you don't have enough time to practice a lot of Chamorro in the week, what is the show that you're watching every week that you love? And then just write simple thoughts about the show that you love in Chamorro every time you finish an episode. Like if you were watching Game of Thrones, after every episode, just write Zahu si Cersei, Tizahu si Tyrion, Zahui Mother of Dragons, Inanna ni Dragons, siha. Zahui Mother of Dragons. You just write that. Simple, just put it out there. I like this, I don't like this. And if you keep doing it regularly, it'll become part of you, and it'll be easier to get the Chamorro out of you to talk about it. But you got to start somewhere. And let's move to some of the contributors, actually. So we've got Senor Chris. I wanted your piece here, and I wanted you to go ahead and share some of your thoughts. You may remember Senora Chris. She was on Fanatsu episodes recently. And so, Senora, go ahead, share your piece that you put on Sakman. Inet nun hinasud and sinangan siha.
Again, Sedus Masi, Benny and Ray, or Jay Dispensa, for inviting us here. I really appreciate the efforts you guys have put here to create this website for all Chamorros to share. I think every Chamorro out there who speaks would like to share pieces of their heart, if not just their minds. And this is an excellent start to getting us all up there and to be able to share and communicate with the other Chamorros all over the world. So I'm just going to introduce myself, because I know I'm not aware of the two other women aside from Senora Pat. Guahusi Christine Carbolito Bate, Tauta Hagetsu, Los Masagadzu Pagugi, Virginia. Be Taitai Estina Pati, Gininguao, Tinigehu, Lo Gua Dididi Guni, Ginin Ochu Nataltalsia. So, Nasedbi Estina Netnun, Hinasuds and Sinangan Siha, Parimas Takulo na Espiritumu. Hatsa Pat Uno, Honra imas takilu na espiritu ni gai dispensa ni gagaigi zen lalatla gihinalommo. Hugrat pat dos. Haguha sinya muna matlak I inanamu. Natsuhau gina ni ochu ni mafufunas I inanamu. Tulu pat tres. Mga lokri munatfunas I ininan ocho, setisinya matlak hao and unsok guyedzu. Fat kochu. Bula I nadzik siha gilinat lakmu. Angin manadzik hao, adzik edzu I mumadza zani hinengemu. Lima pat cinco. Adahi hafa hinasosumu zan hafa unsasangan put hagu. Maulik pat baba simpri un hongi hao. Gunum pat sais. Angin un hasu na sinya hao, pat un hasu na tisinya hao, magahit hao. Ginin I defuntu Henry Ford esti. Fiti pat seti. Angin I mamalik, angin ti mamalik isinintemu pat matompo hao gihinanaumu, descansa dididi, después kahulu zaunsagi tatlu. Sogi esti para haguha, onra hao. Gualu pat otsu. Angin untungu I mas maulik, sogi I mas maulik. Ginini defunta Maya Angelou estilo, dungat na uhungut gininas na naho. Pinti hagulokri, hamzulokri, sigua pat nuevi. Agradeci todo I bendicionnu, todo I tiempo. Tenemos optimo I manot pat des. Na etnon I hinengemu sa esti fondomu. I hinasomu sa esti pumufutma hapa humuhudun ginin hagu. Isinanganmu sa esti sinya muefekte I inanamu zani ininan ocho. Zani bidadamu sa esti I fegetmu gitano. Estia I patekupa esti na fanatsu. Lo bulahin isoku sabi na itatlu ocho patipa I Sakman ocho rai. Si Diyos masik.
Si Diyos masi, Senora. And so, oh yeah, here, Benny, here, introduce I otro tauto loqui. Sa sinyata apta ni itinigan ni haloqui. Kunti si Senora Pat Pogo, no?
So another classmate of mine from the Zoom class is Senora Pat Lizama from Alaska, and she contributed several things in several ways to the site already, one including a piece, but she's also contributed by commenting on several stories or pieces. So that's great. So we could have actual conversations going on. So Sizus Masi, Senora Pat, for taking that. And she's also given ideas on what other pieces of content we can consider adding to the site. Like one of them was phrases of the day or learnings of the day. So we're working on that, Senora, and we'll try to get that out soon somewhere. But thanks to your ideas and your contributions. And so this is a piece if you would like to read and share with the audience.
Dispensa lo cocina na la conclui palabras I tinigi.
Hunggan, nangon rato, hunggan.
Sa what's it isti palaan. Esta maulik ano. Esti tinigi hu tugi para yazi I mangof fuji man malago tori palabras ang gimbaisangan lo para imangat songon imangof hu country corazon hu za uno isya ni bendición dan todo ibidania dan ibidan mami angin manita sinaha todo ha sineta chogwe the si Diyos maasi magait Benny and Jay put it todo isti bidan mitu cada dia u cecek isti Sakman guana bay na tutungu hafa para bay sangani si Akli and si I hagan Senyor Miguel lo hutata giha angin sina lo sumasana du loki gi lisajun internet kada puengi za pagu absent ju sa gagi ju gini sa lo utungo na importante esti para itautauta za intori mansamoru za to tempo unana isha lokwi ni i Sakman kada berada man na hujungju no email parafa una saunau i Sakman sa malagu ju no porom li ni tautau jo check it out Fino English. Pues Unggan bula sini tatsogwi ni esti jenmizu website lo maulikat tagini para pagu esta kimi retire ju no na itu 2 años. Okay, pues ipateku gini fetsan famalaan. Gua hatauta pareo jan hagu. Ni munana ihit fetsata para tafana masaya hafa na problema masaya hafa na dia masaya manu na nagagiho huatan hao zahuna bani dosa zo bula mumuta pat pinadisisita kwa hasinya tagana kwa hati tagagana lo masaya hafa hutungu nakabalis hana pelaan sa met good hiningemu put met good ikut turamu met good i familiamu jam figu ini nak sinyamu tada sinya pumega ha papa si zu ustot tempu wija mismu stete ni hao biba mes tomorrow biba mes famalaan utugi jugi mes tomorrow and famalaan gi mes matsu no biba tomorrow
Biba.
Dahu lokui edzi pun Argentina integri 24 hours na lisado gi Fino tomorrow.
Oi, Bella?
Ta bebela todo dia sa guana bai na tuka magmata jugi tatelu puengi pat taf ki chatan mak alok edgi finena o chochogi tiu sasangan na todo pro chogi lo importante para guau si dus masi todo
Jesus Masi. Oh, and man, bonito esticia, beautiful pieces. Sedus Masi, Senor Chris and Senora Pat. And Benny, I know we have one more to share. Put for boy.
Sedus Masi, Senora Pat. The next one we have is from Uncle Fred Kineni, the Guam Port Lord, Lo Difunto este si Uncle Fred. And my cousin Jennifer and her daughter have come here today to recite one of his poems that the family has graciously shared on the site. So it was one of the earlier pieces. So there it is right there. So Jennifer, if you're ready, you could, yes.
Ikellegwin gof mangi masaya hafanay na klasi. Ikellegwin gitano, pad ikellegwin gitasi. Magwayzay kadun manung zangin adzu maparada. Lo ay kellegwin hay manung zatiyo na hungi sintada. Ikatnin gwaka lokwi mangi. Pure di flanksteg na klasi. Masaya hafanay na tempo. Patpatesa tiunlatsi. Sa 8 ni tiunlatsi, gidzaguam parisan lago. Ay tsagi afanelos, ikellegwin binado. Za ikellegwin baisongan, ni mangwaiza ni mananghit. Ilagwa pada tuhong, ay mansen mangi magahit. Jai ii paditi alta lui kitsu padizuk. Kellegwing janun nadanya, jani kinomzun inizuk. Ilek niya mahetuk nai gomsun. Lo tinaktak jaun nadanya, lo tinaktak jaun lemun, patetizas padisuni.
Lo hasongan nai sinana, zan ia sagwahu sitsilang. Mamas mungi kinuhafa, na I kelegwin uhang. Zan tadzani estisia, zan I manyalangham, in kelegwin sen tzadik, I good old US fam.
Iba.
Viva!
Diba.
Senzahuan na poema.
Oh, Biba si Zeus Mossing. I see. Si Tun Fred Kineni. Natsalik dan Tadung na tautaw. Menhalum si. And so Jennifer, did you want to say a little bit about si Tun Fred?
My brother actually wrote the article and had the idea to put it on, so maybe I should just read his words
Oh,
of
okay.
what he
Okay.
had. Okay. Maybe aliga mungi. Oh, and sige. Unpotlu. Okay.
Okay.
An Islander's Voice. Ginin si Gerald Anderson. Esti na leblu poema ginin asti funtun Frederick B. Keneni Papa Fred Tiuhu. Huhasu anay potgunzu sigi hatugi papa gi papit lo tiutungu hafa na rason I ocho huhasu zanya kamatazi dos kilzanu gi fandangoniha dan kintodi familia gintero. Hanamadza itinigenya dan ikinalamti ni tautau. Butungu pagu hafa na rason na sigi tumugi papa gi papit ileblu hasangan todo. I zonya poema puntan dos amantes mapega gi to Lover's Point. Si difuntun gabetno Ricardo J. Badazzo hapakama si difuntun Frederick B. Keneni poema laureate gizagwahan. Zahu I kelagwin na poema gileblu sa hahasudzo no I giput familako. Umafatinas todo na klasin kelagwin guihan mono katnin guaka binado paruhang. Masaya hofa na kelagwin mangi todo. Gof Benito estina leplu jangin malagun fahan estina leplu gagi giyoji bookstore bestseller bookstore jan Amazon. Nangkulo na si Zeus maasi para familia as Papa Fred saman naihampit miso para ta apati estina boniton poema. Zeus maasi.
Si Zeus Mossing. Zahu. Gof Zahu na. Zahu esti na poema mas kinu Zahu Kelagwan. No, I'm just kidding. Mangetnya kinu Kelagwan magahir esti na poema. But we've been getting some comments and some support for what's it called? The CJ Baza Pasqua, who is also shared a poem on the website. He says that it was Uncle Fred who inspired him many, many years ago to write poetry. And then we also have what's it called? Clarissa Mingiola, who's a poet who's also featured on the website. She says Gof Zahu Adzuna poema. She really likes that poem. And so Sidus Masi J. And so a lot of wonderful things are already featured on this website. And so I wanted to point out a few more. And if you like Angenzamu Kantasia, Zan Poemasia, then you definitely, hold on, let me make sure that the audio is shared. Then you definitely want to check out Sakman, because this website is becoming the Aziz San Nicolas Sabetti sort of Spotify playlist. Because esta Fananguaha like Tres na Cantanya, si Aziz, he's got like a few songs on here. Para Inobianya or Yasaguanya, para Haganya Lokwe. And so got beautiful songs here. And he's also recorded them as well. Nita Ekung of Dididi.
Antes di para un mali hunggan haguneni protesta tung na hafa bai hu tsokwi ngayon para un mga puti sa bai hu protetehi ibida mu ngayon bay maglafa ni finato mo sa akso na haoni kaigi ki corazon mo.
Woo! Uy, Gaigiao Loquigi Corazon ho. Si Aziz, ay day. Woo! Hey, bonito encanta. And so there's also there's a lot of amazing pieces, especially poems and songs. One of the things that I wanted to share though that is a little bit different though, is if you are a fan of romance stories in Chamorro, every week I post a section of my sort of an Antigu Chamorro romance story. And so if you look on the website under Historia en Guenaidza, you'll see different parts there. And so I think we're on part 4 or 5 now, but it's got some Tautomona in it. It's got some Tautomona in it too, because you can't have a Chamorro love story Antigu style unless there's a Tautomona in it somewhere. But a lot of such very cool stuff. Very cool stuff. In fact, I wanted to also share, because we've got Clarissa Mingiola who is tuning in. I wanted to share another poem. And so what I always like to impress upon people is that if you are older and you are speaking Chamorro, pass it on to those younger than you. But if you are younger and you're trying to learn, think about who you're learning it for, right? You may be learning it for your elders so that you can have a conversation with them in your native language before they leave this earth, right? So that but you could also be learning it for your children so that they will know this part of their roots, this part of their heritage. And so that's what's wonderful, is that on the website, Clarissa, Aziz, Kontodwe Nobiahu, Si Desiree, all of them share pieces where they are writing or singing in Chamorro for their children, that they are learning the language and singing in the language as a way of passing it on to their children. And so, Nita ekungok I poemanya na si Clarissa.
Famago onhu, kontingo hafi imas takilu na minalagohu, na intingo hazi hamzo. Na in atan maimai sa hamzo, za engwagwad za hafe en li'i. Za engin in atan maimai sa hamzo, en li'i todu I maine. I atadok niha, I atadok mizo. I corazon niha, I corazon mizo. I peniten niha, I peniten mizo. I menagof niha, I menagof mizo. I gunahan niha, I gunahan mizo. By husangani hamzo ni menagahed. Anay dekikito ti bani dosu zo purikutarata zani fenota sa ti hutungo hazizo. Dumankalo zo gof tago ginengwahan zani tanot niha I mainenata. Tad zanay ma Fino tsamoruzi zu I senahusa dididi malingo I lengua hita gihena son niha lokwi. Lo paku hutungo hazizo. Zan esti I mas importante na tsotso gilan at lahu. Guahana biahi bunitu I talan, zan guahana biahi napiniti. Lo debiri hutungo hazizo sa zangin hutungo hazizo, sinya entingo hazi hamzo. Za buente ang komentos jogi finota en hihongokzo, za sinya en hihongok imanyanata lokwi. Un día, zangin esta hudingo estinatano, para en cuentusa gifinota, za sempre by huhungok hamzo. Hahasu, ma tazuzuti hamzo imanyanata, taguihi hu tazuzuti hamzo. Hamzo iguinifen imanyanata. Hugwaita hamzo, sinana.
Ay, ishinentisia gifino manhoben ishinentisia the feels. At did ishinentisia. Okay. No. Debrita ega ocho. We're gonna watch Desiree's now. Ay de debrita ega. Low. But this is the most important thing that we need to remember about the language is that languages they have words, they have grammar, right? They got all these things, but languages connect generations. Languages survive because one generation teaches it to the next generation. And we have forgotten that. Unfortunately, most Chamorros have forgotten. They feel that your language is only important if it makes you money. Your language is important because it's yours. Idzomo. Enoha. And that if you feel that what is yours is only valuable if you can sell it or if somebody will give you money for it, ayade. Bandi malingu how. You know, it's important because it's yours. Okay. Yeah. Dispenso because I'm controlling the episode, so we are totally gonna watch. We're gonna watch My Daughter right now. Hungen.
Lula lumuhu. Agaga na kapatulu na bonita. Mafanyagu entut itasi zani pution sia. Fiu hu hahasu hadzihau mohon gitiempo. Koparoon menhalam tagwihi sitatamu. Natsalik zan tatkun tagwihi itzet lumusia. Mahetuk zan imbilikera kulenguahu. Patko para un cariñosa zan gaimangi corazon tagwihi I nanamo biha. Masaya hati hagilin at latmu. Hudasesaha na hinanaumusia manat maman. Hudasesaha mohon na mamagofhau. Hudasesaha mohon na unfektai imismu talanmu. Hudasesaha na moleknya mohon kinogwahu. Hudasesaha na ungof guaidzan maisahau. Tapmu malela fa hadzihau zan ginemanuhau. Tapmu malela fa ilenguahita. Zagof guanainai jahau as nana.
Ay, it's the mahaleng zu pari hagaw malago zu makka zu na patgun. I'm gonna bite that child. Ni na magogoday zu no todo esti na mangi na shinentisya. All right. And so, Benny and Jay, I wanted to give you a chance though, because one of the most important things from this, right, is that it's inclusive, it's open, and as you've already mentioned, anybody can submit, anybody can participate. And so the pieces that are there right now, a lot of it come from people who are connected to us through the language classes and so on. But really, si Tun Jose, gineni Talen, gineni Carabao, Zanilanso, anybody can come in and sort of contribute. And so can you please talk about how people can get connected to Sakman?
So on the site there's a form that they can access the Apati link, and they can contact us too. There's a contact form, and as we get the word out, there's emails that they can reach out to us as well. And so there's different ways, and you know, we started thinking it was all word of mouth how we were networking, and so I'm I'm fairly confident that as we get the word out, as we meet more people, as we get into other communities for the language and the culture, that the word will start spreading. But there are ways to get in touch with us via the website, sakman.com. Yep, there's one of the forms that they can.
And in addition to that too, someone like I'll use myself as an example. I get very, it's hard for me to participate in this sort of project, for me to create some original content or translate something, because I don't have the skills yet. I'm still working on that. And so something that I can help with, though, is I can use my hard skills that I have, that I use in my daily job, to contribute to the site and to what we're trying to accomplish. And so that same sort of, that's my way of showing like the chinchuli to the project. And so what we want to do for, also, and as Benny mentioned earlier, people want to contribute to building this thing, to making it like Maget, you mentioned the app earlier. You can put up to your face and your ear, and it translates everything for you. Like, to get there, we need people to help us. And so, if you want to learn some of the skills, if you want to get involved in a site, understand what goes behind the scenes of it. Part of our organization, Finideni, is also, we have a workforce development track where we're all about like cultivating relationships across the industries and creating integrated approaches to solving like specific needs that we face here, that folks in the islands face there. And one of them is providing access to mentorship. And I look for mentors when it comes to language. I look to mentors when it comes to the culture, like my mentors at Guampedia is a great example. And other folks look to us and me and mentors and some of my hard skills, like design might be one of them, or partnerships might be one of them. And so if we have people who are interested in just getting their hands wet, getting their hands a little dirty, and building something with us, we would love to find ways to contribute as mentorships towards you, connect you with other mentors out there, or maybe you are the mentor who can mentor someone out there who's looking for some hard skills or some soft skills learnings. So there's a lot of opportunities, and it's more than just contributing to the site. This is an environment of learning, an environment of giving, an environment of connecting. And we think that language is at the core of it. And in many ways, as you can see on the website, it is all in Chamorro. And so there's a lot to learn and a lot to contribute to.
Sidus Masi. We are just about out of time, but I wanted to see if anyone had any final thoughts that they wanted to share. Words of wisdom, inspiring words. We've already sort of, I think one thing that we've definitely seen so far is sort of that there is a power in this, that even if you cannot speak Chamorro, if you're disconnected from that part of the heritage, sort of hearing the language, learning the language, it nonetheless, there's an emotional, there's a spiritual, there's a cultural energy to it. And so that's one of the great things about, even if you are somebody who can't speak Chamorro yet, seeing a website in which people are organically just writing in Chamorro and creating in Chamorro, it's important. So you don't feel like the language estamata, that it's already dead, that estamalingo todo. You need to feel, right, that energy, that other people are speaking it, other people are using it, other people are learning it. And so that's one of the great things about something like this, is that it'll stand as an example for people to feel and see that there's already sort of a community around it. And so would anyone like to share some thoughts before we head out? Yan Ahi, Señora Pat, por favor.
Pues dos semanas tati uhunguk un pelaan gi Don Mami Chamorro class na manunu gi journal distiane atutuhun za husoda izonya journal ni atutu gi Instagram za golf bonito za hututun lokui za estigi hagahu ni zoku granddaughter no zanyo tumaitai lo tia tungo hafa tatai lo dididi o sangani za umekunguk dididi gini gi programa za like nya Guaha geno hobin na pot gun sina komentos ki Fino tomorrow. Le kulame kay esta sina mangentus sa ukeke na sauno lo man mampus mantinani gi internet sa nisita ta electricity famaguun sa tana tungu na guaha lingua hita za debi ha dio ma tai pat matugi po manu po fanugi pat man po fanganta ki Fino tomorrow. Didi ta juda siya. Za guahu lokui angin manugi zu no kata pat man opi zu gichat suka Americano, suka Tagalog, suka Hafana tauto manunugi zu ki Fino tomorrow. Pues sempre ama faisin. Hafen zu kumakilik niya. Lo maulik zu.
Si Diyos masi, Senora. Hunggan maulik ka na ejemplo. It's a good example. It's a good example. Masya mon angin singa fumino tomorrow. Masya mon no how pues usaha. Hunggan sa fanagwi I otro tauta. Fanagwi siya. Fanui siya I bonitun lenguajita. Share our beautiful language with them. Don't hide the tomorrow way. Share it. It's funny, nice. We're so excited to share the Keligwin, the Hinexa Gaga, Zantorui Nenkano. Lo mangye lokwe nai lenguajita or language is pretty delicious too. But anyone else, Benny or Jay, to close things off?
Yeah, when I started the project, I was thinking of the books that I was purchasing online, and then I was thinking about how can I make this more inclusive? How can I make this more accessible? And that's where I landed on the website. Where can we build a community that will help? One, we're still learning. Two, we can share, and then eventually we're all going to be enjoying our language, and it's on the internet and it's free. So anyone can start learning when they want an immersive experience with our language. We're trying to build that. And so I wanted it for myself, and I want to share this with everyone. And so how can we get everybody to help build it for all of us? And we should do it ourselves.
Jay Malago by Benny by Faisin ko guaha sinya tagi notebook ha na kanang tagi papira gi website za un tau ututuhun un sentensya pues otro na tau sinya continua I sentensya za luset tumu sempre mama storya hit ni todos sa tau
Great idea. And we're hoping to kind of build off of this and find ways where we can get help in other ways, whether it's monetary or other skill sets like Jay keeps bringing up. And so we can try and build out all these ideas where people can chat, people can have stories. We can do the chamarita online where people are using poems or songs and doing a poetry fight, but all in Chamorro. So
bonito. Bonito.
Una hasu ni amigahu ni tau kosrai like na edgi na masada gwi jani asagwanya gi coconut chat.
Yeah, lots of ideas are in the works, so hopefully we can start to introduce them out.
Ay. Biba finot samoro na latla I finot tamot na. Si Diyos masi no hamzo todos ni mangagi Zoom. Si Diyos masi Benny, Jay, Senora Pat, Senora Chris, Senora Jennifer, and si Rosa Loque. Hunggan. Guana biyahi kalang man trinisti hit, but mantenemba hit put I estawi lenguajita. Oftentimes we might feel nowadays sort of depressed or down because of the state of our language. Lo, guaha tinanga, guaha dinisea. I feel that there is positivity as well. So gilinat lahu. I mean, when I was growing up, I did not know anyone my age who wanted to speak Chamorro. I knew some who could speak a little bit. Lo entry man primuhu and entry man manatungohu tadza mismo malago. No one really wanted to learn. Lo if I look at the youth nowadays, man interesaw siya. Many are very interested. Cosinata epoxia, cosinata adzudasia. Can we encourage them? Can we help them? And so who agradeci hamsu todos gwini sa hungan in setsegwi and now na precisu na tsotsum. I appreciate all of you because you are doing that important work. And huagrida si Hamzo Lokwin ni umeegad zan umeekungok. I appreciate all of you listening and watching. Esti finakpun otro na episode finatsu. Adios. Este kiman at liihit tatlo. Esta.